Imagine you wake up at anchor, coffee in hand, and your home is floating. Not camping, not surviving, living. Because the difference between a weekend boat and a true liveaboard isn't the brand name. It's whether the boat solves the daily math of full-time life. Space, safety, speed when you need it, and autonomy when you don't. Today we're breaking down why one specific production monohull keeps getting called the perfect liveaboard by the market, the Beneteau Oceanis 46.1. It won European Yacht of the Year in 2019 in the family cruiser category for a reason. It's not just a newer Oceanis 45, it's a design shift. And in this video, you're getting 5 reasons why the Oceanis 46.1 is the world's perfect liveaboard, built on actual architecture, ergonomics, and systems reality. No fluff. Let's get into the engineering of living aboard. Reason number 1. The stepped hull revolution, volume without the usual performance penalty. Liveaboards need space, wardrobes, tools, provisions, spares, laundry, and all the gear that turns a boat into a home. But the classic problem is this: the moment you widen a hull to gain interior volume, you pay for it with drag, more wetted surface area, more sticky light air performance, more motoring, and a tendency to pound when you drive into chop. The Oceanis 46.1 solves that paradox with one defining piece of naval architecture, the stepped hull, a hard chine that runs nearly the entire length of the boat. Below the chine, the underwater canoe body stays relatively narrow with a finer entry. That narrow footprint matters because under 10 knots of wind, the boat is basically sailing on the skinny part of the hull. Less drag, more efficiency, more sailing hours and fewer engine hours, exactly what modern liveaboards demand. Then, above the waterline, the hull flares outward aggressively at the step. This is where the magic happens. You get massive interior volume in the zone where humans live, shoulder-level width, cabin space, saloon space, and vertical wall effect. It's not just a bigger salon, it's the removal of that tunnel feeling you get in traditional hulls. For long-term living, that psychological factor is everything. A boat can be technically capable and still fail as a home if it feels like a hallway. The stepped hull also feeds form stability. The Oceanis 46.1 has a wide beam of 4.50 meters carried aft, and when it heels into the 15 to 20 degree range, it starts to sit on the chine. That creates a locked-in groove, less oscillation, less fatigue, less seasickness, more confidence moving around, cooking and living while underway. And the displacement is moderate for the class at about 10,597 kilograms. Heavy enough to carry real liveaboard payload, think 2 to 3 tons of gear and fluids, without turning into an unmanageable barge if systems fail and you have to do things manually. This is the first pillar of perfect liveaboard. It's not one feature. It's the fact that the hull gives you 50-foot living volume without the usual 50-foot penalty in drag. Reason number 2. The cockpit is a terrace built for living, not just sailing. A liveaboard's real living room isn't the saloon, it's the cockpit. That's where you eat, work, relax, watch the sunset, manage the dinghy, and run the boat. And the Oceanis 46.1 treats the cockpit like a terrace on the sea. The most controversial, most misunderstood piece of the deck plan is also the most liveaboard-friendly, the GRP main sheet arch. Traditionalists love to complain about arches, but liveaboards care about function, and the arch does 3 things that matter every single day. First, operational safety. On many boats, the main sheet and traveler create a cockpit kill zone. Boom movement and loaded lines can injure people during a jibe, especially guests, kids, or a partner who isn't obsessed with sailing. The arch moves the main sheet system up and out of the cockpit. It turns the cockpit into a genuinely safe space while the boat is being actively sailed. Second, the arch becomes the foundation for real weather protection. For liveaboard life, the ability to enclose a cockpit changes everything. With the arch as a rigid structure, you can mount a spray hood and bimini that actually holds shape, and many owners build a full canvas enclosure that zips into the system. Now, your cockpit isn't just shade, it's a canvas room, a sunroom, a weatherproof second cabin. That matters in tropics, shoulder seasons, rain squalls, and cold fronts. It keeps the boat livable year-round. Third, the arch is a safety structure. Sturdy handholds for moving between cockpit and side decks. That's not glamour, that's how you reduce slips and injuries when the sea state gets rude. Now add the Liveaboard control layout. The Oceanis 46.1 uses twin helms, and the running rigging is led aft to winches positioned right next to the helm stations. For short-handed couples, this is the command center concept. You can tack, trim, reef, steer, and manage the boat without leaving the wheel. In an emergency, you can instantly dump a sheet to depower. That's not nice, that's safety. The cockpit itself is built for living. 2 L-shaped benches, massive central table that can seat 8. And that table isn't just furniture, it's engineered storage, life raft access from the rear for rapid deployment, and integrated cold storage to keep drinks at hand. Then there's the sunbed concept. Dedicated lounging areas near the companionway that can be equipped with recliners. That sounds like fluff until you live aboard, because a liveaboard boat isn't measured by how it looks at a boat show. It's measured by whether 2 people can spend a full day aboard and feel like the boat is helping them, not fighting them. Reason number 3, the Oceanis 46.1 interior, master suite, real heads, real light, real storage. If you're going to call a boat perfect liveaboard, the interior has to behave like a home, not like a compromise. And this is where the Oceanis 46.1 separates itself from older production monohulls. The stepped hull is the enabler, but the interior execution is the payoff. Start with the owner's suite forward. This is not a narrow V-berth cave. Because the bow stays wide above the waterline, you get a true rectangular island bed, 2 meters by 1.53 meters, and it's accessible from both sides. That one detail changes daily life. No crawling over your partner, no weird mattress shapes. Standard bedding, normal sleep. And the hull shape creates more vertical wall effect, so you're not hunched over by hull curvature when you sit up or stand near the hull. Now the head layout. The Oceanis 46.1 uses a split head concept in the owner's suite, toilet on one side, shower on the other. This solves the wet head problem that ruins morale on many boats. When you don't have a wet head, you don't have a bathroom that's always damp, always slippery, always unpleasant. You get a proper grooming space and a separate shower stall. That is not luxury, that's livability. Add natural light. Large hull windows and overhead hatches provide sea view from bed and strong ventilation. For tropical living, ventilation is survival. For long-term living, light is sanity. Now the saloon. With a 4.5-meter beam, the saloon becomes an atrium-like space, especially with the panoramic coach roof windows and light interior finishes. This is what people mean when they say catamaran DNA, not marketing. Flow, light, zones. Now the galley, because liveaboards cook. Beneteau offers 2 core galley philosophies. The L-shaped galley near the companionway is the ocean crossing choice. It's braced and secure. You can wedge yourself in and cook when the boat is moving. It includes a large front-opening fridge around 130 liters and a top-opening icebox/freezer around 85 liters. That's real refrigeration for real provisioning. The alternative is the longitudinal galley along the port side. It opens the center of the boat for a more apartment-like feel and can give more counter space. But it's less secure for rough sea cooking. So the choice is simple. If you're living aboard mostly at anchor and doing shorter hops, longitudinal can feel amazing. If you're doing offshore miles and cooking underway, the L-shaped configuration is the smarter liveaboard tool. Then the nav station. On a real liveaboard, the nav table becomes a desk, a planning station, a charging station, a home office. In the Lux configuration, the meridian seat allows the navigator to face forward or rotate into the saloon. That sounds minor, but it's what makes the space dual use, work mode and social mode. Now the hidden hero of liveaboard life, storage. Reviews and walkthroughs consistently call the Oceanis 46.1 storage massive. Cupboards run the length of the saloon hull for dry stores. Underfloor bins with gas struts for heavy items, canned goods, spares, tools. Cockpit lazarets swallow fenders, lines, cleaning supplies. And there's a rare feature for a 46-footer, a dedicated sail locker forward, accessible from the deck, for a Code Zero or Gennaker without destroying your interior storage. That sail locker is the difference between we actually use our light air sail and it lives on a bed because there's nowhere else. There is one small ergonomic note owners have flagged. Upper shelves in the forward cabin can be hard to reach without kneeling on the bed. Not a deal breaker, just a real-world detail. But as a complete interior package, the Oceanis 46.1 does what liveaboards actually need. It creates a home that doesn't feel like you're living inside a narrow tube. Reason number 4. It's customizable from easy holiday cruiser to real ocean mover. A perfect liveaboard must be able to move efficiently, not just float beautifully, because every hour you motor is fuel, noise, vibration, and maintenance. The Oceanis 46.1 has a Jekyll and Hyde personality depending on rig choice. The cruising standard setup is the easy button, in-mast furling main and self-tacking jib. This is push-button sailing logic. You unfurl, trim, tack by turning the wheel. For a short-handed couple, this reduces workload massively. But the critique is also real. That setup has limited sail area, around 85 square meters total, and in under 8 to 10 knots of wind, you can feel underpowered. That's when liveaboards start motoring and engine hours climb. So, Beneteau offers the first-line performance package for sailors who want to sail more and motor less. This package includes a mast taller by 1 meter, a deep lead bulb keel at 2.65 meters of draft, and a classic battened mainsail. Sail area increases by about 28%. That's a giant jump. It changes the boat's behavior in light air, allowing sailing in about 5 to 6 knots of wind. And it supports a bowsprit for flying a Code Zero or asymmetric spinnaker, which is exactly how modern cruisers stay moving quietly instead of turning on the engine. Now, add twin rudders.
1.1 uses twin rudders because the beam is wide. And this is not a gimmick, it's a control solution. As the boat heels, a single centerline rudder can lift and lose bite. Twin rudders keep the leeward rudder deep and vertical. That's why the boat can feel on rails and forgiving. For liveaboard couples caught in a squall, forgiveness is the whole game. Less drama, less rounding up, less stress. There's also redundancy logic. 2 rudders means if one gets damaged by debris, the other can often still provide steering capability. Then you choose draft based on your cruising plan. Deep draft around 2.35 meters for strong upwind performance and stability. Shoal draft around 1.75 meters for places like the Bahamas, Florida, and the Chesapeake. And a performance draft at 2.65 meters with the lead bulb in first line. What makes this especially interesting is that the twin rudders help the shoal draft version maintain tracking without a catastrophic loss of control, so you can open up shallow anchorages while keeping respectable behavior. That's liveaboard practicality. You're not buying one boat, you're choosing a configuration that matches your actual geography and your actual tolerance for motoring. Reason number 5, systems autonomy and maintenance reality. The difference between vacation boat and full-time platform. A liveaboard is not a boat, it's a machine for living, and living requires independence from shore infrastructure, power, water, cold storage, reliable mechanical access. The Oceanis 46.1 is a prime platform for autonomy upgrades because the structure supports them cleanly. Solar integration is a big one. The main sheet arch and common owner-added aft arch systems provide excellent real estate for solar panels. Liveaboard-ready examples show solar installations over 1,600 watts paired with lithium battery banks. That's not nice. That's the difference between running on shore power and living quietly at anchor without rationing. Generators are also well supported. There's dedicated machinery space for a generator like an Onan 7.5 kilowatt in appropriate compartments, and when installed properly, it can be well insulated to keep cabin noise low. Now water. Standard water capacity is about 370 liters, with an option for an additional 200 liters for a total of 570. That's solid, but serious liveaboards typically move to a water maker for true anchor independence. The platform's plumbing and electrical systems can support high-output water makers. Examples include units around 40 gallons per hour, installed in storage and machinery spaces. That's how you sever the shore. Fuel is 200 liters standard, with an option to double to 400 liters.
For liveaboards, the 400-liter option is the smart move because it can support a range over 500 nautical miles under power. And for real cruising, power range is safety range. Now, the no BS part. Every boat has maintenance realities. The Oceanis 46.1 uses Yanmar engines, around 57 HP or 80 HP. For liveaboards, the 80 HP is often recommended because more power is more margin when you're loaded with gear and pushing into conditions. Engine access is good. Companionway stairs on gas struts, plus removable panels in aft cabins to reach systems for routine maintenance like oil, filters, and impellers. There are structural realities to respect, too. The boat uses a structural grid bonded to the hull, creating a stiff chassis. That's good for stiffness, but it can complicate access to hull surfaces after a grounding event, which is why used boat buyers should inspect keel bolts carefully for rust or movement signs. And early reviews noted minor rudder alignment issues that could cause the boat to pull to one side. That's typically a setup issue, not a design flaw, but it's exactly why sea trials matter. This is what makes a boat perfect liveaboard in the real world, not because it's flawless, because its platform is engineered for the upgrades that turn cruising from occasional to indefinite. Now let's zoom out and make the verdict clean. The Oceanis 46.1 sits in the golden mean, 45 to 48 feet, big enough for real passages, real waterline length, and real displacement, small enough to be managed by a short-handed crew, too. And it earns the perfect liveaboard label through 5 pillars. 1. The stepped hull gives you volume without dragging performance down in light air. 2. The terraced cockpit and main sheet arch create a safe, livable, enclosure-friendly outdoor room. 3. The interior delivers true home comfort, rectangular island berth, split head, big light, and massive storage. 4. The performance spectrum lets you choose easy sailing or real power to sail in light air, with twin rudders for control and forgiveness. 5. The platform supports autonomy, solar, lithium, generator, water maker, and still respects maintenance access and real-world inspection needs. So the Oceanis 46.1 isn't perfect because it's the biggest or the fanciest. It's perfect because it's intelligent. It recognizes the reality that most liveaboard life is spent at anchor, and it optimizes comfort and access for that, but it refuses to compromise on the part that keeps you safe and happy long-term, being able to move efficiently when it's time to go. If you want, I can do a follow-up that compares the Oceanis 46.1 in standard cruising trim versus first-line trim, purely through the lens of liveaboard autonomy and engine hour reduction.